This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas. Magazine publisher and entrepreneur Judith Mancini is sharing captivating conversations with experts in their field about the latest trends in our ever-changing world to help you become healthy, wealthy, and wise. Judith Mancini Today will spark your interest and inspire you to lead your best life ever. And now, here's Judith.
Judith Mancini Today is sponsored by Basic Brands, Inc., providing the highest quality specialty products in the natural food industry. Visit basicbrandsinc.com and enter JMT15 for your 15% discount on your first order, including their best-selling Vitamin E ointment, which helps restore moisture and elasticity to your skin. Good day, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. I am Judith Mancini, and this is our Today Show. I'm going to do a real quick roundup of the news because I think there's some things you should pay attention to and do your research on. This is Memorial Day weekend, and originally Memorial Day weekend was the last Monday of May. But in 1970, they changed it so that it is the last Monday of May, which they changed in 1970, because it used to be on May 30th. And this is a remembrance and honor to the people who have passed away in the armed forces defending our country. You know, we have 3 different holidays that celebrate our military. The Armed Forces Day, which was earlier in May, and Veterans Day, which is on November 11th, and that's anybody who served in the military services. So when you're out there barbecuing and swimming and having a blast over a 3-day holiday, please stop and take a minute to remember those who did lay down their lives as sacrifice to protect our great country. Now, there happens to be a lot of shortages in our country now, with horrible things missing that could have horrible results, I should say. One of them is baby food formula, and the another one are pharmaceuticals such as insulin and cancer drugs. I think this is disgraceful. I don't know how we would get in such a disgusting position and why we don't do more of the manufacturing of drugs here in this country rather in places like China. And it's a supply chain issue also, not just the manufacture of it and the packaging of it. But there's other shortages coming up too, and food is one of them. Things that go in food and things that we use all the time, and all countries are having a problem with this. One of the problems is that the Ukraine and Russian war is causing shortages. Ukraine, I don't know if all of you know this because I didn't know it either. Ukraine is one of the largest suppliers of corn. Now, they're not doing that right now. So there's a shortage of wheat and corn. And in our country, the wheat shortage is due to the fact that some of the places in the middle of the country that grow the wheat have had a terrible drought. So they've had to destroy crops that only grew a few inches instead of the normal several feet. And that's causing a shortage of things like flour for bread. So there's a bread shortage, all sorts of things like that, cereal, because wheat and corn is in an awful lot of products. It means like corn provides vegetable oil. And some of these things are also used in baby food and canned pet food. So there is a shortage of these things. I don't know what they're going to do about it, but there's also a problem with things like avocados from Mexico, because somebody in the United States said that they weren't safe coming from Mexico. I don't know if that's true or not, but the person who was supposed to be inspecting them has left Mexico. What? We can't possibly supply our entire country with avocados and strawberries and things without getting things from Mexico. I don't know anybody who's really ever gotten sick with food being put into the United States from Mexico. So there's some other things going on that I know you're really going to be concerned about. There's a shortage of champagne, real champagne from the Provence of Champagne in France. And that's due to the fact that during COVID and all, they stopped producing it. They just have aged it a little bit. And now the demand has increased again. So they're trying to catch up so that we will have champagne to celebrate with, or just to drink like I like to do. And there's a shortage of beer that comes in tin cans, like perhaps Bud Light. Well, no wonder that is in shortage because they did such a stupid thing in their advertising. But the reason that is because of the grain shortages, of course, but also because there's a shortage of aluminum to make the cans. My question to myself was, why don't they put it in bottles then? The shortage of grain, I can understand. If there's a shortage of grain, okay. But why can't you move to bottles that are better for recycling anyway? So those are shortages, and I understand it's going to get worse over the summer, so you might want to stock up some things. So there was an interesting thing that happened yesterday. The first ever candidate to run for the presidential primaries, Governor Ron DeSantis, decided he would announce on Twitter with Elon Musk asking some questions and all. Unfortunately, Twitter's servers went down. So many people responded and tried to watch. So that was rather interesting, but we were able to get the audio. So I'm going to adjust this just a tiny bit. That was interesting, and I don't think it was the greatest way to announce that you're running, but it was certainly a novelty, and people did want to listen in. So that was good. If it had been me and I was up against all these other people running for office for the primaries, the presidential primaries, I would have gone maybe to 1, 2, or 3 states during the day and done my announcement at the first one and subsequently to the other 2 or 3. But I'm not sure that the word really got out to the people who are actually the voters. I think people who tuned in might have just were tuning in because it was a novelty. So I think DeSantis needs to get out there on the road and tell people what he's really going to do. And I think instead of having the novelty, I think he should talk about what wonderful things he's done in the state of Florida. So you should look at all of those things. Another thing that happened yesterday was very sad for me and many, many others was the rock and roll queen, Tina Turner, passed on to the great beyond. And boy, was she some entertainer. She was a fabulous person, but she was also a role model. And I don't know how many of you know this, but if you've watched the story about Tina's life, and all, you probably do know, she was in a very abusive relationship with Ike when they first became married and first were out there as Ike and Tina. That was very sad, and it was very abusive with physical violence and all. And she did eventually become brave enough to escape, and she turned to meditation and Buddhism to give herself the courage to go out on her own. And look what she did. So I'm speaking to the ladies now, or men. If you're in an abusive relationship, don't stay. Get out there. You can do it yourself. Use these wonderful icons like Tina Turner to help you make a decision to get out of an abusive relationship. And then go and listen to What's Love Got to Do with It? Okay, let's remember Tina today. Well, there's something going on in the coaching field and in the celebrity field, and maybe because of COVID lockdowns and all, people are turning to different ways of uplifting themselves and finding out, why am I here on earth? Why do I have this life? And that happens to a lot of people when they hit their 50s and they're nearing retirement. Maybe they've raised their families, they've raised children, they've had a career, and now they're retired. Maybe they're just making changes in their lives. Maybe they have to go back to work because of the economy being so down. And they don't exactly know what their purpose on earth is all about or why they are on the earth. So today we're going to discuss that. In a couple of weeks, we're going to have a real expert who's written a book on this, and she'll be discussing this also to a further extent. But first of all, I want to say there's a difference between setting goals and figuring out what your purpose in life is. Your purpose in life is something that will follow you till the end of your days if you discover exactly what your purpose on earth is all about. Your goals are more short term. Perhaps you want to start a new business and you've set your goal of making $100,000 a year. So you set short goals for each month on how to acquire the sales or the clients, what have you, for your new business. And that is a short goal, which contributes to your purpose or your why in life. Why do people want to set a purpose or figure out their why in life? Well, science and scientists have discovered that people that have a purpose in life, and you can set your purpose in life when you're much younger than entering your 50s, they live longer, they have more joy in their life, and they make more money. Wow, that's surprising, isn't it? So it would behoove you to sit down and write out what you think your vision statement for your life can be. Excuse me, I'm falling apart here. So one of the things is when you're little, especially in kindergarten and first grade, third grade, the teachers love to ask you what you want to be when you grow up. Well, many times at that age, you've already started thinking that you love to play the guitar, or you love to dance, or you love to play school teacher. And that can stick with you all through your life. But maybe your life takes a different turn and you can't play the guitar all the time because you haven't made it big in the music industry yet. And so you need to figure out what other loves and likes you have in life. Maybe you also enjoyed doing something different when you were getting into high school and college, and people in your life directed you that, well, you were always the one who took care of your little brother and sister when they became ill, or you were always consoling the person who was being bullied in school. Or maybe you wanted to help the bully stop being a bully. And sometimes that leads you to go into something like therapy, teaching others how to get over these things. Maybe you yourself were bullied in school and you went into therapy and you saw how much a therapist helped you. So maybe that's what you want to do with your life. There's all sorts of ways to find what your purpose in life is. one of the ways to do it is to sit down and write that mission statement I'm talking about. It's a vision statement or a mission statement. You know, when there's a corporation and it's just being funded and they haven't launched yet, or they're expanding their business and taking a different turn, they often have mission statements. That could be anything. It could be, remember when Coke came out with new Coke and things, they had a mission statement was, you deserve a Coke today. You deserve it. Something like that. That could be a mission statement. But it could also be something like, my mission statement and my tagline is sharing secrets to become healthy, wealthy, and wise. Well, I've told everybody I stole that from whom I call Uncle Ben, Benjamin Franklin. I just sort of turned it around to help women as well as men. So you can have any kind of a mission statement, but under that mission statement, you should be writing down how you're going to help people get these different things. How are you going to help them become healthy? How are you going to help them become wealthy? And how are you going to help them become wise? So if you were the one who always wanted to help your little brother or sister when they became ill, maybe they just had a bad cold. I'm not hoping that nobody's going to have a traumatic illness in their life, but we pray that you don't. But you wanted to be a caretaker and help them get well. So that might be the field you want to go into, and that may become your purpose in life, to become a doctor or a nurse and always help people who are ill, or become somebody who studies the illnesses and figures out what different treatments could be used. So you could join the field of science with the field of medical physicians and all. It should be unique to you. Your purpose should be unique to you, just like a fingerprint is unique to you. Your purpose in life should be unique to you. And it should be good for you, not just for helping other people. It should bring you joy and purpose in your life for getting up every morning when that alarm clock goes off. You want to be able to jump out of bed and say, what am I going to do today? What am I going to do in my career, or to find my career that I could help people? One of the things about the purpose in life is that gratitude is a huge part of it. Most people find that they are happier and more successful in life if they give back to others and if they are grateful for things in their life. Even if you don't have the multi-thousand-dollar paycheck coming in right now, I bet there are plenty of things in your life that you are thankful for. This is for all of your life. It's not for the short term. It's not for the goals that I was just telling you about. And they even use it in Japan, where things are more spiritual, when they're looking to create careers for their children and themselves. And there's a term for it that I can't even pronounce. It's called ikigai, ikigai, Ikijgai, ikagi. I used to be able to speak a few words in Japanese, but I have certainly forgotten it, and that's proof of it. But they follow this joy of the different things in their life to figure out what they want to do in their careers. And I think people here would find that they might not hate their job so much if they find something to do that gives them joy. It could even be cooking. Maybe you grew up cooking, following your grandma around, or your mom around and you like to make those cookies. Maybe you want to go work at a bakery and that would be the joy to you. You don't have to have these huge aspirations to become a doctor or a scientist. It can apply to any part of your life. So ask yourself, what is your gift and what you can do to discover what your purpose is in life. Now, a lot of people now are becoming life coaches because they want to help people. I think it behooves you to find something to coach about that is a little more focused than just saying you're a life coach, because life embodies so many different things that I think you need to narrow it down and help people in different areas. Happiness and joy is definitely something that you want to be able to attain in whatever remainder of your life you have, and that fill up your days and your years with something that brings you happiness and joy. So don't just think that bringing you joy could go out to play a hand of bridge, but it might introduce you to people who have more likes of different things that you do. So you should always have a community that you join, doing something for your hobbies or something that you like to do. Maybe you love to sing, so maybe you want to join a church choir. Maybe you do like to play bridge or chess. Maybe you want to become a teacher in that and start a little business teaching people how to play, the secret ways to lay your cards down for bridge or move those chess pieces, how to crochet or how to knit. Those could be your jobs for the rest of your life, but it could also start a group that enjoys doing these things, and you would meet more people to interact with in your life. Why is it important? It's important for your mental and your physical health. We don't want you to just sit around, unless, of course, you're ill. We understand people age and things happen to them. But we want you to get up and move around. We want you to have physical wellness and mental wellness. And the more contact you have with other people and you share things in common, the better your mental health will be. It's very easy after retirement to get yourself caught in this trap of sitting at home and watching television, maybe going for a short walk during the day. But maybe you could join a walking club with people that are at the same physical level you are. There's great community programs in most places that you live, starting with the YMCA and going into different groups at a community center that like to read, like to learn how to write a book, like to learn how to paint, like to talk about politics, like to do anything. So you could go to one of these and look at their brochures and everything that they have the classes on. And that would help you find what your purpose is. You might even find a brand new career. And never hurts to bring some more money into your life during this economic upheaval we're having right now. So the other thing you want to find in the very beginning is your mindset. You want to be in a place in your mind that you're happy, and you want to bring happiness to yourself and to others. And the way to do that is to be kind and do nice little things for people along the way. Now, there are a lot of reels, REELS, on Facebook and Instagram now of people going out and doing kind things. A lot of them are people that have disposable income, and they will go into the homeless areas and approach somebody, and they'll see them maybe sitting by themselves usually, and they will talk to them and say, what got you here? what are you looking to do? What do you need? And they will actually give them money or help them in a new start in a new career. And that is really a kind act, but not everybody can afford to do that. So sometimes it's a little thing to do for people in a grocery store. I know somebody was shopping in front of me one day and they were just buying something like milk and bread and eggs. It was a very low thing. And lo and behold, they said they had no money and they left their credit cards at home. So I happily paid for their groceries. Now, they looked like they were homeless. So they were embarrassed to say that. But that was nothing to me to buy that for them. And it made their day and it made my day because I felt like I had done something good for someone. You can do the same thing. It doesn't take much to buy those 3 items. Well, a little more than it used to last year. But that is something you could do out of kindness of your heart. So those are the little things that bring joy to people's life that they're not expecting, and how we help people all the time. You know, after you have more time after retirement and you're at home a lot, I would suggest that you do some reading. And it doesn't have to be just self-help books, books on business, books on coaching, books in your field. If you've been in retail or skincare or something like that throughout your life, and you loved it, but maybe you want to expand, so you could read something on a new industry that you might, or you might just find a book that's on the bestseller list, nonfiction, that stirs your imagination about what if I could do this. So you should read, and sometimes even when you're reading fiction, you could find out what people are doing and how they want to do it. Maybe if you're still in great physical shape, you could volunteer to work for law enforcement. Or, now get this, you don't even know this probably, the government hires people to walk around the paths around dams, lakes, parks, things like that, in their everyday clothes, and check out to see if any bad guys are gathering, if they think they might be up to no good. And you don't try to stop these people, you simply report them to whoever your handler is. So you could inquire about that. I don't think that there's any kind of recruitment on the internet for something like that, but I actually have known people who suggested I go do that. And so I'm assuming that it is real, and what a great help that would be. But also your law enforcement departments in your city or your county may need people to volunteer at different events they have. And you could be volunteer people for the law enforcement. If you have spare time, I know like an airline pilot or a flight attendant or somebody like that, you can also volunteer to be helpful in the police department, like a volunteer deputy sheriff. You have to go through the regular training like a police officer does, or whatever you're applying for. So that would be an interesting thing for you to do if you're in your early retirement and physically fit and are so inclined. So when you're making your personal vision statement, put down all of these ideas of yours about what you feel a little excitement or caring or what you want to do. And I think you'll find something that interests you, and you can go read about it. You can explore it on the internet. You can go and make a visit to your local police station and ask them or to your fire department. They always have open houses and things. They can always use extra hands there. So try to give back to people, and I'm sure you will feel good about yourself and bring happiness to those you're helping as well as yourself. One thing I want you to do while you're looking for your purpose is I want you to feel gratitude every day for what you have. We touch on this a lot. You can get up in the morning and feel gratitude because you have your eyesight or your hearing or no aches and pains in your joints, or maybe they're better today, so you feel a little more spry. It's not unusual to get aches and pains in your joints if you're not moving around enough. So that's another good reason to move around, as well as getting the serotonins in your body to go and get that happiness inside of you and looking at the blue sky and the birds singing and the flowers blooming. You need to turn your pain into purpose and pleasure. Sometimes when you're struggling to overcome a major life change, your purpose will change in life. But you might find people like you that are struggling for the same thing. Maybe you're a recent widow, and there are other people you know that are still struggling because they lost their spouse several years ago. There are groups out there started by a widow herself when she was pretty young and lost her husband. And the group itself is quite successful because they share their experiences, their sorrow, and the little things that make them happy too. So you can turn your pain into something productive and make you feel better about yourself and helping others also. So what were you passionate about, not just in elementary school and high school, but as you were in your career, what did you become passionate about? I'm sure you were passionate about raising your children and being with your spouse, but did you go out and play golf? Did you play tennis? Did you like to hike? Did you like to take your children to the zoo? All these places you can go volunteer at, or you can join the senior golf tour if you're good enough. And if you play golf enough, you will be good enough. So you can find all sorts of things that will occupy your time and give you a purpose and a why to be here, because you're going to be helping others. And that is your biggest why, helping yourself and helping others. You need to build a community around yourself, but you also want to have people that are inspiring to you. So check out some of the groups you want to join, and maybe in your community, by joining these groups, you found that there are not a lot of like-minded people in this particular group. So you could talk to the one person who stood out to you and has the same kind of feelings and ideas that you do, and you could start a new group. And somebody who's passionate about politics, passionate about singing, maybe they can introduce you to a choral group. So maybe you could start your own. I know a lot of people in retirement that still love to play the guitar or a horn of some sort, and they form their own groups. And they go around and play at these different parties that people have, and they're having a ball. And they're entertaining people, so more people are getting joy from what they do. If you don't tell your story and what you're all about and how you got to the place you're in now, meaning what did you do before you retired, or what did you do before you lost your job and you're trying to find a new one? What did you do before you wanted to become a coach of some sort, a business coach, a life coach, a health coach? Somebody like that, you need to discover what made you do this or want to do this. So what's your story? My story is I've always been interested in helping women because I sort of grew up with a grandmother and an aunt, and I loved most of the things they told me, but some of them I didn't. And my mother was a polio victim, which I never used to share with anybody, and nobody knew it. Even my friends in high school didn't know it, and even my current friends didn't know it. And I happened to post this on my Facebook page when I was doing a gratitude thing, how my mother impressed me when she was a polio patient when I was 5 years old and my brother was 2. And she was totally paralyzed. She was quadriplegic, but she was also on a respirator. So it was very difficult for her. And she remained that way until she passed away when I was pregnant with my son at the age of 24, 25. So nobody knew about this. And I've often told people I didn't even think about it when I started podcasting, but I started wondering, why would it ever come into my mind? I always like to do some kind of entertaining or instructing or something in my life. And I thought about the podcasting when it was offered to me because I like to help people, and this was a way to get the word out of helping them in different ways. But one day when I was podcasting, it suddenly dawned on me that this woman, my mother, who was totally paralyzed and having trouble breathing, she was in a respirator, she started a radio show with one of her sisters. Now, this is in adulthood. So from 5 to 25, she was ill over 20 years from the results of polio. She started a radio show back in Indiana with her one sister who would play classical music, and then my mother would read poetry. That's where my love of poetry came from. But guess what? It apparently instilled in me that radio was a wonderful way to reach people. And she reached hundreds of people in Indiana on a local station. And it gave her a purpose in life. Don't you think it would be difficult to find a purpose in life when you couldn't move your hand? You had somebody feed you and this respirator pumping up and down on you all the time to breathe? Well, that's part of my story. My mother is part of my story. And not until I reached this age did I begin sharing it with everyone. Well, I got a lot of interesting comments from that one, and they were all very gracious and inspiring. So if you tell your story to people, you may find out that you are stronger than you think, you're more interesting than you think, and people will be interested in it and they might suggest things to you. You want people that are going, excuse me, that are going to inspire you. And you can also inspire yourself. So you need to practice self-acceptance. I am who I am. I think there was a Dr. Seuss book about that. I am who I am. So you need self-acceptance, and self-acceptance is part of your purpose and your why you were here. With all of that comes self-care. And if you're not happy and filled with joy, and I don't mean giggling every day, I mean you feel joy getting up because you took another breath and you got out of bed. You need to be happy and filled with joy in order to help others. And see where we're going? If you help others, it's a circle. It makes the other person happy and it makes you happy. And that is in your purpose and in your why. But if you don't have the self-care and you don't rest when you need to rest, and you don't go out and take a walk and smell the fresh air, it's not going to do you too much good. Even if you can only go out and take a walk for 5 minutes, that's better than not going at all. It's good if you have to sit most of the day, but it's great if you can sit outside too. So there are other people like you, and if you suddenly find yourself or your mother or your father or somebody in an assisted living home, remember they are now in a community and they get to do things like this. And wouldn't it be fun to go to this community and help the others there in what they want to do? Maybe take them out. If they're in a wheelchair, couldn't you go over and take them out and wheel them down the street and wheel them back just to get that breath of air? We used to do that for my mother. We'd take her down there. You know what else she taught me? She taught me never to stare at people that have disabilities and look at them. And that goes for any kind of disability. It's embarrassing to the person. They get used to it, but they don't like it. And I don't even know why I thought of that today, but talking about my mother reminded me of that. And we were just little kids pushing her down the street in her wheelchair with her respirator on the back. And people would stare at us. So we learned that it was rude. So don't do it. Just go out and help those people. Your self-care, I got a little distracted there, but you really do need to take care of yourself. And if that means a massage or a manicure, getting your hair cut, getting it to cover the gray or let the gray shine through, you need that self-care. And perhaps if you don't have the finances to do it now and you're just getting into your side hustle or a second career or discovering what you want to do, maybe you could get some girlfriends together and help each other out and paint your nails together. There's all sorts of ways to find your purpose and your why. And the biggest one to me is helping others. So get out your pen and paper. And to find your purpose and why, start writing down your life statement about what you want to accomplish now. Your purpose in life. Be sure to write down gratitude and helping others and your most passionate thing you can find. All right, everybody, I'm going to go off a little early today because I'm so grateful that we are leaving shortly to go on a weekend away. I have this wonderful friend. Well, my husband and I have this wonderful friend, two friends, Mark and John, who live in Palm Springs, and they're very close friends, and they know how stressful it's been for us the last couple of years after losing our son. And we did go on a small vacation with my daughter and her family, her wonderful husband, and the two little grandchildren. That was with the grandchildren, so we were taking care of them, and it was lots of fun. But we didn't really relax much because we were out exploring and doing all these things. So Mark and John recently bought this wonderful old home in the Hollywood colony of Palm Springs. And it's the old Eddie Cantor home. He was sort of a comedian and performer in vaudeville and all, and very well liked in Hollywood. And I've seen pictures of it. It's spectacular. It's a Spanish type home and has a beautiful long pool in it. And it's on Airbnb. And they are graciously giving it to us for Memorial Day weekend. And we're so excited. Well, we're excited too because we get to be with Mark and John and my daughter and her husband. So that is a piece of gratitude that I am thrilled about. And they are so kind to do this. When I get back, I'm going to tell all of you how you can go visit this beautiful Airbnb. And by the way, this is the new way to travel, and it's so much fun to see other people's homes and do these things in different parts of the country. But don't any of you get the idea that nobody will be in my home, because you know there's a lot of people who hack into these sites, and there is somebody here staying in our home, and there is security around. I would advise anybody not to advertise that you're going out of town, but we live in a very secure complex with lots of security. So I'm sharing with you what we're doing this weekend. But we will be taking time out on Memorial Day to thank those who gave their lives so that you and I can do whatever we please to make us happy and joyous and succeed the most that we want to. So with that, I'm going to say goodbye to you today. Have a happy Memorial Day. Be careful with your barbecues. Don't start any fires. Watch those little kids swimming so that nothing happens to them. And remember that we live in the greatest country on earth. Thank you. And remember, cherish yesterday, dream tomorrow, and live today.